money, Lebowski? Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the fucking money, shithead?
It's down there somewhere. Let me take another look.
Walter, the Chinaman who peed on my rug, I can't go give him a bill, so what the fuck are you talking about?
Chinaman is not the issue here. Also,
dude, I'm talking
Asian
about drawing a
American,
line
please.
in the sand, dude. Across this line, you do not! Also, dude, Chinaman is not the preferred nomenclature. Asian American, please. Welcome to episode 11 of the Good Talk podcast. We absolutely love to be here, and it feels good to have you with us. We featured Turd Man on the last episode. It was a lot of fun, and we are here to bring you, I think, lucky number 11. A lot of people I know have faith in the number 11. They like it. My sister and many great other people in my life were actually born on a date of 11. A lot of continuity. Tool, of course, has great reference to it throughout their music. And no, so we're definitely rolling with that.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, buddy. How are you?
I'm fucking wonderful.
Good.
So here we are in episode 11, and we have the first question of our Good Talk 5. We are going to fucking just roll hard with it.
Yeah. Might just stretch this one out a bit.
Yeah.
Who knows what it'll roll into?
You never know.
Only one way to find out.
Pie or cake?
Pie. I like pies.
Like, is it the slicing? Is it the symmetry of, like, you know?
It's not that. That's a good aspect of a pie.
What do you think of people who just dive into the middle of a fucking pie?
Some people just
ever
want to
seen
watch
that?
the world burn.
That's like a terrorist act?
That's pretty much a terrorist act.
I think I could sans cake and choose pie in this one too.
My low level OCD won't allow for things like that to happen without me saying something or doing something horrible. Yeah, cake is it. I like I say, I always again, like, I don't have much of a sweet tooth, and cake really like tops that out really quickly. So I can only do just a little bit of cake.
I had a horrific experience with cake. Sometime when I was young, I recall on my birthday, my mom got me German chocolate cake, and it was oh fuck it, no, it ruined my whole birthday.
Oh no,
I hated it. It was awful
because of that coconut frosting.
I didn't like anything about it.
Some people just do not like that.
Well, and I think cake is the best part of a birthday party. For some kids, like fucking presents are great and it's wonderful and you get all the presents, but that fucking cake, man, you get it. It's just a big part of the party that you look forward to.
I've always liked an ice cream.
When
cake.
you're a kid,
I'll take an ice cream cake over a your normal cake.
Now, if you start throwing ice cream cake
forget
qualifies.
about it.
I will say, in the ice cream versus pie.
Right.
Competition.
Oh, it's ice cream versus pie now.
Well, excuse me. Well, cake versus pie.
Right.
Ice cream cake does qualify.
It does. Well, then in that case, ice cream cake.
Yeah. And where in this realm does an apple crisp fall? Where are you going to put an apple?
That's actually more of a bake.
Oh?
Like an apple bake.
A bake?
Or like I suppose like some sort of a.
What? So bakes are not part of this game?
Like pie casserole.
It's not a third choice. I'm not gonna do a third choice. Holy shit! I almost did it.
We're on thin ice, bud.
I fucking feel the third choice police creeping up on me right now.
It's black helicopters.
Oh my god, they're outside. They are fucking outside. They're after us. The third choice police are coming.
I've got the documents.
I'm fucking suddenly paranoid and terrified, and they're listening.
Ah, we're making this an Alex Jones episode. Goddamn pie puller.
Is that? Oh my god! Don't tell me
police.
that. I have no idea what he does. I've never actually listened to.
Really?
No,
no. If you.
Well, I know like of him, right? I've never listened. I've never listened.
Conspiracy theories every now and again, and
of course,
that
fun.
is Alex.
Oh, is that
Jones'
what he does all the time?
Wheelhouse. Well, but the thing is, like, a lot of
At
this shit
some point-
has been actually proven right.
Has it really?
Yeah.
What do you think his
Like
ratio is?
he called the whole NSA thing like 20 years ago.
Shut up.
Oh yeah,
Good
That,
for
like
him.
they have the
But-
capabilities. They're going to be, stockpiling your information. Turned out that was right.
Turned out he was
and
spot on.
I could probably look up a number of things that he has said that have actually turned out to be true.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, he's comes across as such a nut job because he's so boisterous and not afraid to just throw it in your face. And he is a bit of a nut job. Let's just call it what it is. He is a bit of a nut job.
Of course, but look at if his batting average is positive. Do you think it's positive?
Pretty close to even.
Really?
If I had to guess,
Even. You're going to give him even.
He gets way out there on stuff.
Good
And
for him.
I'm not a huge Alex Jones fan, so I might be talking out of class here, but
Well, one thing we haven't analyzed enough about Aliens is the exploratory factor of Aliens, and I wanted to reference the physicist Michio
Kaku.
I'm sorry, I don't want to fumble the name.
Yeah.
He presented to me recently one thing I had never really considered about alien life. We like to toy so much with the idea that aliens would give a fuck about us.
Right.
And the analogy he made was brilliant. If you've never heard this, I'm sure you probably have, Chris Rubb.
Probably.
My friends out there listening, if you've never heard this, he said for an alien that would have the technology to visit us and want to make contact would be like you walking into your front yard and trying to introduce your flat screen television to an anthill.
Yeah. That's actually a
Okay.
pretty good analogy.
Wrap your head around that for a second.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
These are not my words.
How long would
I
it
am
take?
parroting his brilliance because it's something that affected me, and I would love more people to understand it that way.
Yeah.
Because it was not a way I had really deeply considered
Right.
aliens before.
Right. Not only could that ant not conceive of the technology of your flat screen television, it couldn't conceive of you. It couldn't conceive of the idea of communication on your plane of existence. It can't conceive of your reality.
Not at all.
At all, on any level. So, yeah, and it's actually a very good analogy for what it would take, the technology that it would take for an alien species to cross a galaxy, let alone many galaxies, in any amount of time that is anything that could be considered realistic to get here to come and talk to us. Why?
Why? And they're not gonna fall over some silly tripwire out there and mistakenly reveal ourselves to
No.
us. I mean, come on.
They're not going to take the time to give a fuck.
Unless you get those bros from the
Doesn't
Lunar
matter.
Nights. Unless you get those bros from Aqua Teen.
Right.
I mean, you could get those guys.
Yeah.
Come on. They might be out there. But that, I think, is really the subjective reality that...
The difference in technology between us and those types of aliens is very much analogous to the difference in technology between us and an anthill. It's very similar.
No, it is.
It literally would take
What do we have to
that
offer?
much of a jump from where what we have to what they have in order to do what they would be capable of doing.
And if they can, I would like to think, get this far, they're not going to make that mistake of being seen. They're going to be so easily
Well, and you would
unobserved.
only call it a mistake because you're the only thing that they don't have any risk.
But for me to
You
admit
call it
that,
a mistake because it scares you.
for me to then say that is
Yeah.
to say that we've literally never recovered any alien artifacts on this planet.
No.
I can't fully admit that. I can't say I agree with that thought. I don't know if that's the adventurous mind in me. We don't know all
You
the
don't
facts.
know what an artifact would be.
Of course.
You mean
Or the suggestions that
Again-
have been made that there have been corpses discovered or
Yeah.
Analyzed.
if you
Well,
spat out your gum next to
never
that
know.
anthill, would the ant know that this is an artifact of a new civilization that it has never conceived of before? It
No,
wouldn't even know what the fuck
it's
it
just
is.
like,
It's just this
holy
thing
fuck.
now that's there. Whatever. It doesn't. We wouldn't conceive of it either. Imagine us coming across an artifact that wouldn't even be able to exist in this third dimension or this three-dimensional space, because hypothetically, again, in order to jump forward into being able to traverse those distances through the universe, you're hypothetically again talking about a fourth dimensional type existence. The artifact wouldn't really appear as any kind of tangible physical object. B, even if it did, we would not recognize it as what it is. It would be something completely different, or just, we don't know. Just question mark. Like, does not compute.
We can't analyze this.
No,
we don't know.
not really. Not on any level of. It's so beyond us.
Do you think we have or have not discovered, and we'll load this as the next Good Talk question right now.
Right.
We have or have not ever discovered alien technology on our planet.
Oh, that's such a loaded question.
Oh, I know. Fuck you. Take it. You made me do this.
I understand.
You brought this upon
I
yourself.
I love to talk about this kind of thing. I really do.
No, you did.
I really do, because there's so many possibilities. What we literally have is a universe of possibilities out there, and it allows my imagination to really, really get into the red line, because there's nothing that. I mean, I can come up with so many different ways
To make both answers right.
to make both answers right, and then reason with both of them to say that, like, this
I'm
is
gonna-
right because of that, or that is right
I'll
because
take a
of
hardline
this.
stance for at least for the sake of the Good Talk podcast,
Right.
Where you can find on Twitter at the Good Talk 5, because we fucking love you guys.
We do.
We like you to interact with us. We like that you listen to us. We're really happy about it. We love you all. Thank you. I don't underestimate our gratitude. We're happy to be here, and we're happy that you listen. But
I mean, we'd be doing.
I'm
it
taking a
anyway.
hardline stance, and I think that at some point, whether or not it is public knowledge, I would firmly stand entrenched in the realm where somewhere in the secret pipeline we do in fact have alien technology. Whether or not we understand it is perhaps another question, but I do think that we've discovered either a ship or some form of we know it's not earthly.
Right.
I think it's there. I think it's hidden. I do believe that, perhaps maybe it fueled the internet. You never know. Who fucking knows?
I want that to be true. I do.
It's weird.
I want that to be true.
Lizard people rule us.
I don't want that to be true.
Right? They live, right?
But
obey.
But
Put your glasses on.
If that kind of thing is going on, it's again so far above me that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
what
matter,
I want.
right? You're because you're on the anthill at that point.
Does not matter what
You
I
are
want.
on the anthill with me.
That needs to be accepted.
It does.
That needs to be accepted.
But I do think it's in there somewhere.
I want that to be true, buddy. I really do.
If
I want this universe to be teeming with life. I do. So I have to beware my own confirmation bias when I try to analyze real new discoveries, hardline stuff that we're actually doing on the forefront of exploration.
Well, and something that Kaku suggested, the reason we haven't really found anything out there is because if we did, it would be so far above us that it wouldn't want to be seen, and we wouldn't see it because of that.
Right.
Now, is that just getting Star Trek-y? Because this guy is a brilliant physicist.
Yes. Yes.
But
Kaku's awesome. I love Michio.
His suggestions, by some measures, are getting into the Star Wars realm.
Exactly. And
right?
actually, that's a good point to make. I'm glad you said that, because Kaku postulated, actually, I don't know that it was him, but he really took it off with it, in that there are, basically we can break down the idea of civilizations in terms of our advancements into any one of three categories. You have a type 1 civilization, a type 2 civilization, a type 3 civilization. Type 1 civilization has technology that's capable of harnessing all of the power produced by its home planet It's capable of controlling the weather. It would be capable of controlling tectonic plate actions, so earthquakes, things like that. Everything having to do with its home planet. It would be able to also harvest all of the sun's energy that's hitting the planet, right? So all the solar energy, still way beyond us, right?
Way.
Type 2 civilization can harvest all of the energy from its parent star and can control its entire solar system. At that point, it can start to maybe control gravity. It can certainly harvest all of the power being produced by its home star. And let's see, type 2, that's pretty much going to be it. You're going to be getting into a few things, gravity and dark energy, dark matter, things like that. Again, light years beyond where we are, technologically speaking. Type 3 civilization is going to be truly galactic. That's equivalent to, like Jonah said, that Star Wars Empire type situation where you have an entire galaxy at your disposal. Galaxies of stars. You're harvesting energy, resources, and technologies from across the galaxy. You're
the Death Star is a reality in that level of
civilization.
For sure.
You would have the resources to produce something like that. And the technology that you've developed, because it would take so long for your society to get to that level, that's where you're starting to get into the us to the anthill
We're
levels.
the anthill for sure.
Where we are the anthills, and it'd take millions, maybe even billions of years beyond where we are to develop that type of technology and grow that large and spread that far out into an entire galaxy. That's type 3. Where do we fall on that scale right now? We're type 0.
0.
We are experiencing the birthing pangs of a type 1 society. Right now, we're very dangerous.
The internet was the first step.
We have just...
We're on the precipice.
The internet is a type 1 society's phone system. It's instant global communication. As soon as it's perfected, it means that every one of us will be instantly connected to everybody else across the planet, right? That's all still local to Earth, right? This type 0 civilization, though, that we are right now, we're very dangerous. We have just enough power to destroy ourselves, but we're not smart enough to save ourselves. So a type 1 civilization, a type 2 civilization, or a type 3 civilization is not going to want to talk to us until we prove ourselves.
They have no interest in us.
They need to make sure that we get through that type 0 threshold where we're now smart enough to save ourselves before we're dumb enough to destroy ourselves. We have the power. Will we use it?
Yeah, for anyone who has ever played fucking SimCity,
right,
you're at that point.
Sure.
You're at the precipice of interstellar space travel. It's where most people die, and they get stuck in that point in their 86-hour fucking game save.
We're still fighting amongst ourselves over resources.
Oh, it's gross. Water is becoming...
In order to become that true type 1 society and take the planet over and really, really start to control things in an altruistic way, we need the full resources of our species, of all of our minds together working as one. Until we get to that point, we're only dangerous. We're not helping anything by fighting anybody, by fighting each other, and we can only do harm. So no other society would want to talk to us, and I can't blame them. It's
weird that we can't all sort of identify with one another as the human race.
Right.
And it may never happen because throughout globally there is such disgusting, entrenched hatred and really
nationalism, racism. It's all just because I look different from you, or I was born on a different piece of dirt, we must therefore be enemies, or we must therefore give in to the preconceived notions of our forefathers. That's got to stop. In order for us to get anywhere, in order for us to even gain that type 1 status, that's the first thing that's got to go, is that you are somehow different than me.
But that'll never happen because, I mean, and you spread across all these other global countries. I'm
optimistic.
I'm not. Look at Africa and the constant fucking every time it's not good. No, I know it never is, but every time somebody there gets power, and it's been exposed time and again, and publicly displayed. Vice does a obviously brilliant job of showing this to the world through their efforts of journalism in terms of just the gritty
reality.
Yeah.
True reality.
It's really tough to
exposing human nature for what it's proving to be time and time and time again.
So good talk question number 3. What prevails more in the human psyche? Nurture or torture?
Well, history has shown thus far. It's nature, or nurture and nature, or nurture and torture.
Well, maybe trait nurture versus not nature, but nurture versus fucking like hatred,
domination
the
and
cruelty,
hatred.
Domination.
That's the one. Domination and hatred.
Domination and hatred has ruled the day.
It breaks my heart, but yeah.
If you were gonna put that on a percentage, like 70% of the time, 60%, 90, 80, where are you putting it?
Historically speaking,
how close is it?
What has dominated our entire existence since the beginning of it?
Of course, yeah.
Domination.
But by percentage,
100%.
100%. Oh, come on. 100%?
How did every country come about? How did every government start? How did every single society begin? By dominating something. By dominating what was before it. I mean, I guess that's...
So change this. Let's rephrase this to unity versus domination. Are they one and the same then? You know, if you kind of like blend that, because
I'm rolling over in my mind right now as to whether or not that form of domination is inherently bad, or it's just been used poorly.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably just been used poorly because there's no other way to grow. And that's actually an example that's set forth by nature as well, because nature has to dominate too. And if we follow the example set by nature, I don't feel like we can go wrong. As long as we use them altruistically, as long as we use them for, like, you know, progress and good, and as long as we avoid as much suffering as possible and not inflict unnecessary suffering.
I know, but then you get to the point of asking, like, who decides what's suffering, for who, for what, and then it becomes ideology.
Right,
and then,
right.
And then you get caught in the human cycle. Is that not right? Like, right there.
Poof,
You get caught in the human cycle.
And poof, here we are.
Poof, here we are.
Yeah.
Man, that and that is sort of tough to deal with sometimes, because I like this concept of the quote human race.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to think about this.
But when you think about that on a global scale, it makes me feel stupid to even think it's possible. Sometimes it does.
It's hard to stay optimistic about our future when you look at our past, yes. As you don't know, I can't conceive of a realistic direction to go in that's
the wrong people have power. The wrong people have power.
Are there a right people?
Are there a right people?
Is there a right answer to that?
Question number 4. Are you a right people or a wrong people? Chris Robb.
I'm the wrong person to ask that.
What kind of people are you?
Future anthropologists can only answer that question as to what is rub.
What is rub? Because I don't know if I'm right people or wrong people. Who knows what people you are? Who's to define what is wrong and what is right in that realm?
Only future, like you have to define right from wrong from a perspective of the future.
I'm gonna write this shit from the future right now.
Right.
Of course.
And that's where I guess I try to put my perspective when I make decisions in my own head as to what's right or wrong, is I try to look at it from the outcome backwards. From the future backwards.
Like a chess player.
Right. Look at where this would lead if choice A were taken, if choice B were taken, or if I can come up with choice C. And I know we're against third answers here, but...
Well, no, we are...
But third answers just mean to me new paradigms. And that's what we need right now. As human race, we need new paradigms, new ideas.
There's nothing
Old shit's
better.
not working anymore.
There's nothing better than applying new thinking to old problems.
Right.
There's nothing better.
And now more than ever.
I mean, obviously, sometimes there's a right way to fix something, but
Right.
not everything is a simple formula. We're not talking about how to fix a fucking blender.
No.
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 We're not talking about fixing
trying to
your
improve the
snowblower that I couldn't fucking fix for my own
We're
damn
trying to
self.
improve the snowblower. Of
course.
Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah. How do you make the
Snowblower,
fucking...
because every time we fix the goddamn snowblower, we end up in the same problem. We still have to move snow. This is
Exactly.
all metaphorically speaking here.
And-
every time we fix society, quote unquote, so far, we still end up in the same problems. So we need to start coming up
Time
with
and
new, completely new. I love that word. I'll keep coming back. New paradigms. That is the word.
That is the word.
One to go for.
So what we need are robot snowblowers to do all the work so that we can
Metaphorically speaking,
think
yes.
more and love each other more and fucking explore ourselves more and discover one another and be more happy and create new paradigms within our own selves, within you, within me, with those around us. Reality explodes. It alters, it echoes, it changes everybody within your universe. That echoes even further. It creates a network. And then we are all on the same page and we can achieve the human race, my friends. I fucking love you.
That's very Jason Silva of you. I really enjoyed that. Thank you. But that's where automation and freeing the human experience for imagination is one of the more promising goals, I guess, that you could say for the human race that I've come across. And McKenna shared that vision. Silva shares that vision in particular. And they're so well, so much the good orator, both of them, that, maybe their pretty words hypnotize me a little bit. But
You and me both, my friend.
and I don't know how it would manifest.
But
it is such a beautiful thought.
It comes back to the wrong people are in power. Terrence McKenna,
But are
Jason
there
Silva.
right people?
Yes, there are. Because the right people are shaping influence, and influence shapes society, and society shapes Earth, and Earth fucking shapes our global planetary presence.
Yes,
and
it does.
until we can unify, until we have the more empathetic, open-minded influence spanning the network. Right now, we are in a fucking web of deceit and manipulation and hatred and domination. That is the web of the world.
Yes.
And until, and I'm who the fuck am I to pick? But until the empathetic great minds, until the fucking Starfleet-like minds,
Right.
the fucking, the Jason Silvas, the Terrence McKennas, the Neil deGrasse Tysons, fuck Mother Teresa, all of them.
The true forward-looking, all for one for
Hell,
all.
the new Pope is pretty forward.
No more of this no more of this America, China, Russia stuff. You can't have that in a Type 1 society.
No.
There is no more, there can be no countries. It doesn't work that way.
How do we
One people sharing all of our resources.
Yes.
That's the only way it goes forward. Until then, we're stuck. Because in this country, have these resources over here, but in order to get anything done, I need to get resources from this country over here. Well, that means that I need to have relationships with them, and I need to barter and beg and fight and claw and scratch and do whatever I need to do and backstab and make 6 different deals in back rooms with all these other people and create all kinds of wealth distribution systems that just don't work. Ultimately, you end up in the same spot. You're always short of something. The only way forward is for everyone to share everything. It sounds so hippie and it sounds so trite, but that's how it's got to be. It can't be, I have this and you have that, so we have to make some kind of shady deal with this guy and that guy and this guy and this. It can't happen that way anymore. It's got to that's what's got to shift.
You're right. Do you think our current explosion of resource sharing apps such as Uber, and we've talked about them a little bit, such as B&B, is that perhaps the first step in that shift?
Those are seeds. Those are seeds of thoughts,
gotta
of
be
ideas,
seeds, right?
In order to grow a more
Because have you heard of the one TaskRabbit? I just heard
you just
of
brought
this.
it up to me the other day. I think it's brilliant.
Because when we talked about Uber and B&B and Lyft,
Yeah.
guys, just so everyone understands, just stop and think for a second. The dudes who created that and the women and the team and the company who created that literally built a $1 billion now empire with no owned property. Okay? Nothing.
It's all
They
virtual.
owned zero real estate. They owned zero property.
It's all digital.
It is all digital, virtual.
Yep.
And
But very real.
They are worth how much? Can we look at it? Rub's gonna jam, but they have created from the air, an empire. Now, that is the future. Resource sharing, because Uber is what? A resource sharing concept. Like it or not, whether they're getting it right or wrong right now, they are at the very least designing a system based on sharing what we all have. What do we got?
Since Uber is so altering and so different, we're not going to be able to get an exact dollar value on it, because a lot of this is, again, it's based on advertising dollars and things fluctuate a lot.
Yeah,
let's put it
approximate.
I'm seeing
Very approximate.
Low estimate 3.5 billion. High estimate
That's crazy.
$62.5 billion.
Jesus fucking
High
Christ.
estimate.
Oh my God. From nothing, from air, from
air.
thin air, from
It's digital.
and not to undermine
It's a concept.
the work of the brilliance behind it. I by no means.
Oh, in fact,
but
that's
it's just
a pat on the back.
It's not.
Look what you did from nothing.
Yeah, from nothing.
That's a pat on the back. That's not an insult.
When we start to consider what the future of resource sharing might be and why they are relevant right now, and why we bring this up is because
doesn't that get us
how
used
can
to
we
the
step
idea?
forward to resource sharing?
Doesn't that get us used to the idea? The very
Yes, I think it does.
concept
Because that's what it is.
of, yeah, I own this car, but everyone else could use it,
And I can be in it making money.
and there's still a way for me not to lose my ass by doing so. It opens our minds to a new concept, a new idea of treating resources, of treating property, right?
It does.
It's just a seed. It's just a seed.
That's
but
it.
what do seeds grow into? They grow into something bigger. That's what they do. That's what we need.
Well, yeah,
I
of course.
applaud
What
the
if
hell out of these things.
what if the guys behind Uber are philanthropists and they want to see these same concepts as I do? And these are, for me,
Then there are new founding fathers.
these are the people we need to push into positions of leadership and power.
Agreed.
We need educators like James Owens in positions of leadership and power.
Agreed.
And why can't we get them there? What the fuck is wrong with this place?
I look at society like a big freight train. It's got a lot of momentum. And right now it's headed in one direction, buddy, and it's headed there fast. And maybe we are starting to pull the brakes on that, and in order so that maybe we can change its direction or change its speed, or change something about it. But it can't just change on a dime. It can't just stop and turn. There's where are you optimistic or are you pessimistic about that comes in, because or more effectively, will we save ourselves before we destroy ourselves? That's where that comes in.
Right now,
Does that
I am
train
the latter.
Does that train
Yeah.
fall off the tracks at this big corner coming up? Or will we slow it down in time so that we make that corner and start to head in a new direction?
Well, what I see right now in that reference is like, do I want to be the big fat rat that eats all the local mice and cockroaches around me in order to become the fattest fucking asshole?
Yeah.
The fattest rat asshole around,
Yeah.
who has consumed everything around him? Or would I rather be fucking skinny, maybe fit and able and sharing in a group mentality with everybody around me. And the choice seems very obvious, folks, but it's
a far departure from what we were raised in.
Yes.
It's a far departure from what we're used to. And the hardest thing really about it
again, the rat race, sorry, but we're in it.
Is to change your own life.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. I struggle with that. Change your own life. Be that change. That
Shift
you
your paradigm. Let's not talk about changing your life.
If there's a change
How
you
about
want to see
a
in the world,
shift? Let's talk about shifting your paradigm.
If there's a
because
shift that
change is like, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with somebody else. There's nothing wrong. Because sometimes we've been built in, I think, a lot of ways as society to suggest that change is wrong. It's scary. If you want to change, then why do you think there's something wrong with you?
Well, any society based under domination is going to teach you that change is bad and evil and wrong.
Right.
But any society that's based under sharing and advancement is going to teach you that change is necessary, and change is us following true nature, not just our nature, but true nature.
Of course. Yeah, like there's an opportunity to have, instead of change, I guess this is the PC diplomat in me, but I prefer evolve or grow or shift, as
fine.
opposed to change. And that, I think, again, kind of becomes...
As long as the end result is the same, then, brother, use whatever word you want.
No, you're right. No, yeah, of course you're right. But the perception of change is a negative one.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm trying to, I guess, like deflect in that in some ways.
Right. I guess the same way that in that I try to not say I can't do anything. I try to say I struggle with something. If I'm currently up against something that it's so easy to say, I just can't do that right now. No, I say I struggle with that. That's the same. It's to the same end in that to say you can't do something has negative connotation.
Wow, I like that.
I like to say that I struggle with it. That helps me.
Well, if you say. To me, if you say you struggle with it, that means you are accepting the challenge.
Right.
You are embracing the challenge, right?
In the future, I hope not to struggle with this.
I don't want to struggle with it.
To say I can't says that I can't,
done.
and I'm no longer
defeated.
trying.
That's great.
Yeah.
More people, that's a shift that more of us should make right there.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Rounding it out, shifting your complacency.
And shifting your own life. That's the hard part. You have to, if you recognize a shift that needs to happen out there in the world, then you need to be that shift, and that's hard. I know I'm preaching something that I don't necessarily practice. I struggle with that. I do with change and shift, and it's daunting, and
complacency
it's
comes
scary.
easy. It's not the routine, I don't want to say, but it's the getting comfortable or being afraid or
right. Safety and cozy now is all well and good, but when you start to develop those eyes for the future and you see what's coming, all of a sudden you don't feel so safe and cozy anymore. But you're not yet convinced that a shift needs to happen here and now or today or within your own life, or does it need to be Steve down the street that shifts because he does things that are worse than you? You're stuck. You don't know what to do. But really, it's got to boil down. It's you. You got to do it, and that's fucking hard.
Yeah. Well, growth
so hard.
Growth doesn't happen.
It's not easy. It's not
growth can happen around you, and then you grow stale,
and it's not going to be pretty.
One of my favorite fucking quotes, and I know maybe you're the wrong person to reference this to, but when we were in high school, we had to read the book about Darwinism, about the theory of evolution. Right? What was the book? Do you remember? I'm sorry to call you out because I don't remember.
Oh, God, I should.
I don't have it all figured out. We should all know that. Plenty of you out there listening right now are like, "How do you not remember that, Jonah? Fuck!" But the quote from it that stuck out to me the most, that I brought forward with me.
It's just called "On the Origin of Species." Jesus.
Is it no? Is it that's the one that we all read?
Where
they displayed the court trial, right? Where like we read the story that covered the court trial where they brought evolution because it was challenged in court whether or not evolution could be embraced in public education. And no?
There's a book
Nothing?
on Amazon called Darwin on Trial.
I will have to find it later.
I don't know. Yeah.
But dude, it was there, and it had to deal with like maybe this was a fucking fictional book. Maybe
Right.
I'm making this
Just
up.
as to whether or not that could be included in school curriculum over creationism.
It was
doubt
no
that's the
dude.
case.
I definitely read this in school curriculum.
Still a fucking
and
case.
needless to say, the quote that really stuck out with me in the end, and the story was evolution versus creation, and
Right.
it covered the court trial of whether or not evolution could be taught in school.
Sure.
Was that ever a trial in American history?
I feel like it probably was.
Okay, so maybe that was the book name.
Freaking issue.
But the gentleman who was the lawyer for Darwin
yeah.
was super close friends, of course, with the prosecuting lawyer who represented creationism.
Oh.
And they have this amazing exchange after one of the most heated arguments in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this nighttime exchange, and they're both there, and they are sort of dissecting each other over why they have these parallel ideologies now. And the one guy tells the other, you've changed so much, and what you're doing is wrong, and I can't believe that you're moving forward with this, and that this is happening, etc. And the other guy says to him, and this is where it stuck out to me, perhaps it is you who has changed by standing still.
Sure.
And that still echoes with me today. And I know it sounds so simple, but my God, by standing still and not having an open willingness to apply new thinking,
Right.
has forever, if I can take a moment, one of the great moments away from my public education, it was that right there, like that moment.
Yeah.
It helped me. It helped me have a different perspective on everything right there.
Right. By not remaining a dynamic being, instead just adopting this static state. Not only do you change, I don't know that you do. What the fact is, you don't change, but the world will around you, and it'll leave you in its dust. Society will just leave you behind. I don't fully comprehend exactly where you're coming from in that, like, the quote that says that you can you say the quote again?
Well, he said perhaps it is you who have changed by standing still, like you are standing still in time. Well, you just hit the nail on the head there. Like
Everything changed around you.
Yes.
You stayed still. Well, everything changed around you. We left you in the dust.
Yeah. So it was like a nudge in terms of his refusal to grow.
Oh, right. Well,
The other
yeah,
man's
your
like-
position has changed because at one time you were maybe at the forefront of what we understood.
Yes.
Your position now
exactly
is way the fuck in the back because
way
we've
back
moved
there.
forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Sure.
And maybe I'll do some follow up on that, but that was how it stood out to me. Was
Right.
like that guy was entrenched in old thinking, and as just precisely as you said right there was how it rolled out. So if James Owens was here, he might remember precisely this.
I have no doubt he would.
But that had anyways a very potent effect
Oh, definitely.
on my thinking.
Absolutely. You have to remain dynamic. Everything is always changing. So for you to entrench yourself with any set of beliefs or of ideological systems or manners of being, anything like that, you're doing yourself a great disservice. You have to remain dynamic.
Do you think the reason the struggle for that is so real for some people stems from our will to need to survive tens of thousands of years ago, like that crazy survival instinct trying so hard to blend with the current social normalities of a safe life?
Well, see, I would think it would actually work the opposite, in that it actually surprises me that we so easily entrench ourselves, because actually throughout evolution, coming from, swinging from trees to coming down and chasing buffalo through the plains and all kinds of other stuff like that, we had to remain dynamic every single day. The weather would change. You had to know what to do. You had to evolve. You had to change. You had to come up with new ways of hunting, new ways of gathering food, new ways of finding a mate, new ways of all kinds of things in order to survive all the time. It seems like it's a new development that we would entrench ourselves so much. Like ever since we just started farming and developing cities and things, that's really kind of where the human race started to get fucked up in the first place. Everything was good until we started doing that.
Complacent.
Sedentary life.
Dude, I'm
rather
telling
than
you.
nomadic life. Like we actually evolved to be a nomadic species. And then we just developed enough technology that we didn't have to do that anymore. But now our brains are all effed up because we don't know what to do.
I think a lot of that came from beef becoming our primary food source.
It might have, that might be.
Like that was not the planetary food source for a long
we
fucking
had a
time.
very diverse diet, whatever we
That's-
could find.
And it's become
We're
less
opportunistic omnivores.
Yeah, it's become less that, more
Sure.
this,
Yeah.
and that the beef diet and the cows. I mean, they begin to occupy
Right.
so much of our land, and I'm not, guys. I'm no fucking vegetarian.
No.
I love it,
No, I still partake heavily.
but it is sort of weird how much space we allow that food source to occupy, and as our population grows, that food source will require more space.
And that's another.
And as our population grows, we have less space to live. And as our population grows and we have less space to live, our beef source needs more space to feed. And as they need more space to feed, there's less to feed on.
Another paradigm that's going to have to shift within.
Dude, I'm just saying, do the fucking math.
Within a generation and a half.
Whether we like it or not, that is not an efficient fucking food source. And I love it.
Our entire system of food production from the top to the bottom will have to change dramatically within a generation or two, or we will starve.
So, how willing are you to accept synthetic foods? How far are we from some fucking proton meat bar that's delicious?
Pretty close. Lab-grown meat and things like that. Pretty close. I'm perfectly all right with genetically modified organisms, by the way. GMOs, absolutely all right. Totally safe.
You think they're fine?
Absolutely.
It's great?
Yeah.
It's wonderful?
Yep.
Well, why is there a GMO scare?
Because people don't trust them. Because people spread misinformation and they love to grab a bad guy. They need to have a bad guy. I don't know. It's another development.
They.
Yeah,
We,
you're right.
people,
I know.
you, me,
We,
our
you're right.
friends, our
You're right.
family.
Thank you.
People
Thank
we
you for
know,
that.
our network.
Thank you.
Well, I do it too.
And
It's so easy to throw out the they.
That's why
but
it's
we.
we. That's why it's we. Thank you. Yes, you're right. We need a bad guy. It's this new development again within the last, I don't know, whatever.
We're all in this together, brother.
We need to have a bad guy. We
do.
need to somehow mistrust something. Everyone's else always out to get us. I don't know.
But somebody is always out to get us.
Not really.
Fuck.
We make that up.
What?
No,
the man ain't
no,
there?
That's not right. I mean, not all the time. But these things, generally speaking, some of the more altruistic people in the world are scientists.
Scientists never rule, though. Even
But they're the ones making GMOs and vaccines and all that other stuff.
In every great book or story or movie or TV show, nobody ever fucking listens to the scientists. Oh. Nobody gives a shit what the quote-unquote smart, fancy-ass motherfuckers have to say until when? Until
after all hell breaks loose and the shit hits the fan.
It's terrible.
And then they apologize. We should have listened all along.
Well, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Why can we write about it and identify it as incorrect and not apply that to our own methodology within our ruling class world? It's
like it's written into our DNA to do that. I can't come up with a logical reason. And I know that humans, when I'm speaking to one human or 10 or 20 or maybe 100, I can apply logic and you'll listen. But when I'm talking to 1,000 or 1,000,000, logic's out the window, bud. Now it's mob mentality. It's like a completely different organism on the meta scale than it is in the micro scale. It's
a beautiful way to say it, because the mob mentality is a fucking potent
The human being is
thing.
2 organisms. It's one, or maybe, like I said, maybe 100, 1,000, and then somewhere between that 1,000 and million mark, it becomes a different organism altogether. And it behaves according to different rules. It responds to different stimuli in wildly different fashion. And it becomes ultimately self-destructive and dangerous on that meta scale.
What you are,
unpredictable and
in very mundane terms, suggesting is that 4 humans together hanging out, cool, fine. But if you get like 172 hanging out, it could get that group of humans
that holds
can
the potential
become
for a mob.
different mental
It's like
organism.
a swarm versus one bee,
right?
Like one
like
bee,
a different mental organism. Like there's a certain sort of
like there's non-local-
energetic presence
Yeah.
that is inhabiting all of their minds right there.
Like there's a certain level of non-local communication that we can't really
electrodes,
that we
something.
really can't nail down.
I always like to call that the
but yet it's
vibrational the vibrational wavelength of our mentality is like floating out there.
Yeah, call it what you want, but there seems to be something.
There's something
intangible that we pick up on, and you notice that people, when one person gets agitated in a group, all of a sudden there's like, it doesn't even have to be like, nobody doesn't even have to like look with that person or talk with that person. It's just like this air of agitation starts to spread, or this air of almost like, near violence, and then all of a sudden something might pop off. I'm sure that there might be a sociological phenomenon that's been, identified and associated with it, and I just don't know it, but maybe there's not either, and it's still just this ineffable thing that we do.
No, mob mentality was sort of one of the triggers that brought about Edward Bernays. And,
right.
Edward Bernays is somebody that more people should know about. I've referenced him throughout a few of our podcasts, and even you and I personally a long time ago. But he truly has had a personal hand in sculpting how the government applies information to the public.
At least our understanding of that meta machine that is the human race.
However you want to think about how the government applies information to the public, it is not necessarily in the same way that you think it would be right to. There's no there's no assurances. You should not have any assurances that it is right and just and true at all times.
No.
You have to
not
question
necessarily.
things.
You have to question
You have
it.
to.
You have to question it.
It's not some crazy conspiracy that our government is out to get us. I don't think that. But they are here to format us in a way that benefits them, or them being a form of controlling power. No, it's not. Them is different than they.
It's an extension of us that are a minority section of humans that happen to have a lot of political clout.
Yeah, precisely. That is really an accurate assessment of what it is.
Of what, yeah.
And what is our contribution to that? How do we change the paradigm? How do we shift the paradigm? How do we evolve from it? That's what it all comes back to. It comes back to the balance. It comes back to maybe a little bit of love, maybe some acceptance, some understanding. But without that, that doesn't mean that nobody ever deserves to get punched in the face, because sometimes people are fucking stupid and they need a black eye.
Right. Right.
I mean, like that's a reality too.
The idea, of course, is to evolve to a level where we don't need that anymore, but we're not there yet, and Yes, it's going to take violence, probably. Yeah. Yeah. And again, that breaks my heart. I will not advocate for violence at all. But for me to stand here and say that a paradigm shift on that level that it would take for us to make that metaphorical 90-degree turn that's coming up without probably radical acts of violence is naive.
Well,
very naive for me to say something.
A lot, dude. Peace
and I'm not advocating for
peace
it.
Hasn't done it. Look at it. Goes back to Tiananmen Square. I mean, a man kneeling down in front of a tank and being willing to sacrifice his life for a statement. There is maybe never in history in that form one of the most powerful forms of protest I have ever seen in my life.
The Tank Man picture.
There's a lot of great examples, and I don't want to undermine any of the other ones.
Extremely
but
powerful.
I guess his wasn't about race, and that made it something different to me. Necessarily like he wasn't fighting a black and white fight,
right?
That is so dominantly prevailed the headlines of these civil rights statements.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always one that there's a bunch of great examples and a bunch of heroes who have stepped up in these moments. But like you said, can we affect change without violence? Well, how much change did he affect with that act of nonviolence? And why?
Of course, you can affect change without violence. I'm not suggesting that all change requires violence. I'm merely suggesting that the level
of change required
needed to again save ourselves before we destroy ourselves is so huge that to suggest that it can be accomplished entirely without violence is so naive.
If
I'm
there
not
was
advocating for it. I am not advocating for it.
Of course not. If there was like a baby step we could take that you could suggest, that would be like your first suggestion of a baby step. What do you think it is? Like, what is maybe a tiny little baby step we might be able to take? Is there one?
Start to change your minds. Whenever you feel yourself
empathy,
whenever you feel yourself responding to a situation in a way that you've seen yourself respond time and time again, or you've seen other people respond time and time again, and no real progress has ever been made, and you start to look at those responses differently, and
so it comes with self-evaluation?
Oh, for sure. Yes. Introspect.
A lot of people don't give a fuck about
honestly,
that.
Though. Well, you have... That's my suggestion.
So what happens? Like, what happens to the person who... Well, yeah, I don't give a fuck about that. I can sit here and, jack off and fucking go to bed and not fucking worry and, eat a bag of potato chips afterwards and drink a fucking Diet Coke and go to bed after,
you're not very
reading fucking...
in anything that we're having to say anyway.
Yeah. Well... And you're not interested in the progress of the world.
And you're definitely not interested in being part of the solution. So, I'm afraid I can't help you.
Yeah. Well, what is the solution, though? Your solution and mine is what? A greater understanding? No war, maybe? No war?
Well,
no war people aren't starving anymore?
No war would come about by itself after...
no war would be awesome.
First, let's remove the need for war, right? That's like saying, you don't, for example, you don't want people to take drugs. Well, let's address the cause. Take away the reason for them to do drugs, like psychological traumas and things like that, or help them to deal with those so that they don't fall into addiction. Well, help the world to share resources and get over differences so that we don't fall into wars based on lack of resources or apparent differences. And that starts on a smaller scale, or it could. It's a step.
gotta start
We're
somewhere.
looking for baby steps. That's a baby step. Start to
What if you could point
let go
out
of the differences between you and me.
if you could point out like
Here we go.
3
Here we go. Just one. Realize
or 4, yeah.
realize that we are all the same. Every single one of us is one thing. We are all human beings. In fact, so much so that I'm willing to say that everyone's living a life right now that is exactly the same that I would live. If I was stuck in your exact circumstances, I would make the exact same changes you're doing. The exact same choices that you make. I would essentially be the exact same person you are if I had grown up and lived every single day as you. So that really good, bad, white, black, whatever, we're all the same thing. We all respond the same ways, and we all have like 3 or 4 things that we really want out of life. So given all those differing circumstances that create everybody that makes us think that we're so different, it's just that we're victims of circumstance. That's what makes you you and me. My circumstances made me, yours made you. So if I put my consciousness in your body and live your life, I'd turn out the same because we are the same. Start to realize that.
Are we victims of circumstance or
We're
or
creations.
are we results of choice?
We're creations of circumstance, and there's choice sprinkled
And that was
in
beautiful what you just said
There's
there,
choice
brother.
sprinkled in
I
there.
am right there with you, and it's fascinating that you would say what you said, because I told a friend of mine, and this is a dude that like I really connected with and I love so much, and I had just never met this guy, but I had felt like this crazy affinity to him, and you know, we connected in a strange way through the festival world.
Sure.
I befriended this man, and as I grew to know him, I felt like he was what I would have been had I grown up where he was.
Right.
And I said that to him, and like what you just said is so real to that. I am a result of who I am because of where I grew up. But when I saw him, it wasn't that I wanted to be him. It was not that. It was not anything
You can
to
still
do
be
with
happy
wanting
being
to
you.
be him. I'm love me, and I'm happy with me. And I think loving yourself is an important and essential
Of
and
course.
critical part of everyone's reality. Is
Of
finding
course.
a way to love yourself, even if it's peeling back some weird layer and some nuance. You gotta find a way to cling and love onto yourself before you can express that outwardly. But I felt a crazy connection to this man, and I told him, you are who I would have been if I grew up on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And
I guess
it's so real.
I was lucky to have that epiphany applied to the entire human race. I saw a version of truth that told me that if you had plugged me in to any single one of us at birth, I would end up to be the person that I'm looking at right now. You would not be able to tell because we're all one thing. We're all the same. We're all just this conscious being that happens to have a body that lives a life. Well, that life dictates essentially what you will become. Yeah, there are choices, but we start out a blank slate, and those choices are based on things that were taught to us or shown us throughout that experience. So if we all start out that blank slate, we're all one thing. We all live different lives that are, again, just circumstance and choices built on those circumstances, combining to make you into this creature that stands before me. Then if you take my slate and put it in your body, I'm just going to be you.
You'll be that.
You're going to be me.
You'll be you. You'll be me.
So now
And-
all of those barriers just go away.
Yeah, and we're not coming off a factory line, nor should we be. So
No.
we're all fucking different in that regard.
Right. But the consciousness driving
So-
it all is the same.
It is, but
It's just
where does personality come from, and how does consciousness influence personality? Why? Right?
I don't see that it does.
No.
No, consciousness is not your personality. Your consciousness is only your ability to witness. Your personality
love
is part
that.
of behavior. Personality develops over time. That's a part of your condition, what you grew up to become. You became you. You became your personality.
Well,
You
and
weren't born
that
as a
sort of gets
personality.
back to that conditioning and the problem with us being all the same metaphorically is
Sure.
beautiful.
That's just
But-
pure
but
consciousness. The ability to witness.
input-wise, we are not.
No, far from it.
Because the level of programming is not the same.
Right.
So
Our circumstances are all different.
What begs that question then is, do we need a uniform code, or would that be bad?
A uniform code of behavior, like laws and things like that.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
like
ultimately, yeah.
not factory line, but
Ultimately, yeah.
But how do we deprogram what are perhaps truly terrible traits of our own being?
Some of it would come from within, and some of it would come from not yet. Some of it would have to come from outside, greater understanding of how to treat mental illnesses and hang-ups and stuff that comes about that would have to be treated outside. But some of it comes from within, from epiphany, from self-introspection. Exploration.
I wonder if trying to eliminate some of these, what you would say are maybe, quote, bad characteristics of the human psyche, what would be the butterfly effect? Because we argue that perhaps some of the greatest minds and changes were not affected without struggle. Can we establish positive change and potency and a difference in culture without a violent struggle? And that, my friends, is a question that we want to leave you on tonight. How do we affect change without violence, and how do we get people to accept that? We all want to shift. We all want to grow. We all want to apply new thinking to old problems. And we love you for sharing that with us. Please follow us on Twitter at The Good Talk 5. If you have iTunes, subscribe, review us. We are on Facebook. We very much love your input. And really, truly, I can't stress enough, if you give us a great idea, we're going to fucking roll with it here.
You bet.
That was a good talk, my friends.
Damn good talk. Maps.org.